or depressed or upset in some way, you know?
Are these poisonous people what you would call negative type people?
Yeah, or people that just admit evil, you know, that have a great unprocessed shadow, that like have an evil.
I'm having a difficult time trying to understand the nature of these people. How do they exist?
Well, they're just ordinary humans, George. You know, people can be like enormously ugly and enormously evil and hide that evil. You know, you don't know what they get up to in the privacy of their own homes, or you don't know what level of disdain and ugliness and hatred and jealousy they have inside of them, you know? So it's not just people that are overtly normally evil. Let's say, I don't know, a very violent gang member or something.
Which are obvious.
Yeah, which are obviously evil, yeah.
So yeah. The other ones are quietly evil.
Well, they're silently evil. You know, they're just silently evil. You know, it's deep inside of them. Their hatred for humanity and so on. You know.
But you see all this changing. You see a light at the end of the tunnel, don't you?
I see a light at the end of the tunnel because I believe in the end our humanity's destiny is to redeem themselves. You know, I wrote a book. George, called The Art of Redemption, which is quite well received, and it went through this sort of shadow process of how you begin to look at your shadow. And what I said was the first thing is the investigation, and the investigation is where you sort of arrest yourself and investigate your crimes. Hey, was I mean to my mother? Was I rotten to these people? Did I rip them off? Was I unkind? Did I have like silent disdain for humanity? You know, and then you go through the guilt or the agony of realizing that you've hurt humans, and eventually you come out the other side as this reconciled being that's redeemed and made whole.
Will we always come out whole, though, Stuart? Will we always come out
I think
the victor?
I think some people are like perpetually evil. You know, they don't want to change, you know. So I suppose they just die and go to the hell world and become the ghouls that we fight in 10,000 years from now. But I think that people do desire to be made whole, don't they? They desire to
Most
be
of
redeemed,
them.
don't they? Many people do. And people desire to be absolved. I mean, everybody wants to be absolved, to be brought home, to be brought back. It's not necessarily a religious concept. It's more like the idea that we can be carried back to some place that's pure and pristine and where we see everything in a glorious light.
Most people, I believe, are good, don't you?
They have a goodness and they have an evil. They have both, you know? So I think that, yes, that's true. And then I think most people have an evil inside of themselves, you know? They may be balanced day to day, but if anything goes wrong, they can become really scary. Do you follow me? You know,
they keep it in check, I guess.
They keep it in check until they don't, and then they start getting vindictive, or they get dishonest, or whatever. You know.
You think everybody?
Well, I'm not saying everybody, but many. You know, many people.
Many.
You know, yeah, many people. You know, because quite often the Mr. Nice Guy persona hides a person that's a sexist, he's a racist, he's a control freak. He's like, there's lots of things wrong with Mr. Nice Guy, but he's very socially okay. You know, like he fries the weenie, he fries the sausages or the hamburger, you know, and stuff like that. But deep down, he may have a resentment for humanity, a hatred for women. You don't know. You know.
What can that person do to change? What can they do?
Well, they have to go through the process. There's no way to avoid the process. They, first of all, have to go through the introspection. They have to go through the investigation. They have to look deep down about, like, how do I actually treat humanity? How do I feel about this tribe of people, that religion? How do I feel about women? How do I feel about men? Am I anti-gays? Am I anti-this? Am I anti-that? How do I actually feel? And then they have to investigate whether they have a repressed anger inside of themselves, whether they have a jealousy, you know, let's say if they're economically deprived, are they jealous of rich people? You know, do they act to support humans? Do they act to love humans? Or do they act to bring other people down? Or are they jealous of other people and so forth, you know?
Or are rich people jealous of other people?
Or are just rich people jealous of other people, or whatever it might be. But you have to go through that investigation inside yourself, and that comes through humility, through prayer, through meditation, through serenity, through getting in touch with your feelings, like who am I? And how am I doing? And what is truth? What is truth? Did I rip my mother off or didn't? Am I cruel to her or am I not? You know, am I kind to people? Do I have a soft eye for everybody I pass in the street and a kind word? Or do I look at them with disdain, or do I feel their competition, or, all that stuff, George?
Do you think that some people can change within themselves? A lot of folks who have problems, Stuart, will go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Should they be able to fix this themselves?
Sometimes they can't, George, because sometimes the problems are so immense and so extraordinarily complicated for them to understand, and also would depend on their level of education and understanding of their awareness and so forth. So I think that, in essence, a lot of people need something. They need a book, they need a psychologist, they need someone. And then sometimes a lot of it you can do yourself, because you just look and see what it is that you really truly feel about humanity. I mean, you're supposed to adore everybody, even the people that are really ugly, and that's the hard part. If somebody's really ugly, you're still supposed to love them.
What do we do to keep out of the hell world?
Well, you have to change your feelings. You have to change your feelings, and you have to get real. A lot of people think that spirituality is like, robes and clanking little bells and putting on a show. But I say in my books that spirituality is very much a matter of like becoming ever more normal, where you're natural, you're not posing, you're not pretending, you're not telling lies, you're not making a great show, there's no great amount of bling-bling, you're not showing off, you're not seeking attention, you're not grabbing the limelight, you're not pushing ahead of others. You step back and let humanity go first, and you go last.
I keep thinking, here's an example of Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi.
Muammar, yeah.
Years ago, we see this guy as a terrorist, and then we bomb him during the Reagan administration. A couple members of his family died tragically.
Yes.
Yet he seems to still keep doing what he was doing, a little quieter. And then later on, he seems to become Mr. Nice Guy. He, gets rid of his nuclear program. He goes public. He, apologizes for a bombing of a plane.
Yeah.
Can you trust someone that this person has gotten rid of evil? How do you really know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you sat opposite him, you can tell, because one thing is this, that the sight of these lunar worlds gives you acute perception. You can read people's soul. I wouldn't know without actually sitting in front of Mr. Muammar Gaddafi whether or not he was intensely evil or whether he's a reformed character.
Yeah.
But he's certainly, from an American point of view, behaving better, so I think we can rejoice in sort of his slight redemption, let's say.
Well, the trouble is, would you go to sleep with knowing he was wandering around the room with a knife? I'm not sure.
No, I don't know that I would, I don't know that I would. But certainly, he certainly seems to be improving. But whether or not it's all for show or for economic reasons, or maybe he's scared. Maybe he's scared the American military is going to come again or whatever,
The reincarnation portion of all of this, like in your particular case, do you think you're at this is it for you? You've evolved and you're not coming back anymore.
I don't think I'm leaving because of any sort of great achievement or self-importance, George. But I would hope that I understand enough about the Aluna and my feelings and the feelings of humanity and so on to go on to something else. Do you follow me? Grace,
Gaia, and the End of Days. Where do you get this?
Well, it's again, it goes back to grace as a technology. It's not just a sort of golden light from heaven that may save a wretch like me, It is actually a technology that people can go study. I mean, you could almost have a university of grace. And we know hundreds, thousands of people that study it by going into trance. Sometimes they go and they can see some of these worlds on ayahuasca that you and I have talked about before, George. So we go down to South America, Ecuador, where I run ayahuasca tours down there, and it's legal. And you can see those lunar worlds with ayahuasca as well, You can see it. And so it's like... it's an understanding, it's a technology, and now our information is vast compared to where it was, let's say, 8 or 9 years ago,
Stuart's blog, Stuart Wilde, WILDE blog.com. I'm George Norrie, and I'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM.